Children need fathers too. There's just no two ways about it. It's something that is inherently true. And it's what I'm going to go in through with you today. If you do like the content, please like, subscribe. Your support means an awful lot, and hello to all new subscribers. Now, before I go into this, I do want to sort of put a precedence here that this is not an anti-woman sentiment whatsoever. It's not women bashing, because ultimately what I want to be able to say overall is that children need both parents. They need mothers as well, but they also need fathers. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, I have a subscriber, and someone I'm subscribed to, called the Alienated Dad. I will put his link in the description below, who's talking about his experiences as an alienated father. He made comment about how his ex-wife, I can't remember actually, let's just say his ex, okay, whom he has children with, made comment about how children don't need fathers, hence why he's having these ongoing issues. And it really got me thinking. It's like, do you know what? I see an awful lot of posts or videos or things like that where people are talking about that children don't need fathers, children don't need fathers, but you don't see any kind of children don't need mothers sort of posts, because that's almost kind of in society taken as a given. Well, I'm sorry, but children need fathers too. That is also a given. But it seems to be socially acceptable at the minute to be able to say, which I can't apparently say because I'm stupid, to say that, well, apparently fathers don't have some inherent value or purpose when it comes to the raising of children. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Sorry, it's total crap. Right, okay. And the reasons are this, okay. Now, men and women have, and I'm sorry, and I understand this whole video is going to cause some upset to some people. I'm sorry, it's the way it is. Truth hurts after all. There are inherent differences between men and women. I'm sorry I have to say it as plainly as that. Something that maybe 20 years ago wouldn't have been even considered. But it now has to be pointed out. Yes, there are inherent differences between men and women. Whether you want to look at the physical, the mental, the emotional, there are differences. Undeniable differences that only in La La Land can that not exist. But not to go down that rabbit, Warren. But there are differences. Now, there are strengths and weaknesses to both. But it is the relationship which creates the ultimate experience. The reason is that women bring their strengths to it, men bring their strengths to it, and together that is quite a strong foundation. In fact, it's the strongest foundation that has lasted for thousands of years. And why? Well, because when they then have children, what the children then see is the end product that they should be aiming for. The one that keeps them the safest, the strongest, the most protected. It is essentially, even if you look at biology, is what is expected. And I hate to keep ramming home this point because people like to think that we're above everything else, but we are still animals. Let us not forget. So what is it then? Okay, so fathers will bring an entirely different approach to parenting than mothers do, and that is okay. That is fine, because what do they have to teach? Well, when you get the father, they will teach things like control. They will also teach respect as well. But I know people are going, mothers teach that too. I know they do, but it's a different level. It's different flavours, okay? Now, when I think about when I was growing up, I got different things from my mother and I got different things from my father. The difference is that as you get older, maybe not at the time when you're being taught them, but as you get older, it then starts to become apparent what things that you took from each parent were. Now, as I've got older, I've kind of realised that I've taken certain elements from my dad, such as the ability to assess a situation as to how serious it is or not. What do I mean by that? Well, Is this something to absolutely lose your nut about? Or is it something that's like, look, we'll just deal with it, okay? Now, you could probably look at some of my videos and go, well, you didn't learn an awful lot because you've been losing your nut about quite a few things. But in my mind, those things were justifiably difficult, okay? And nobody's perfect. But there have been an awful lot of things where I've been in relationships or I've been with people and this is, I'm not pointing this as fingers, but I've been with someone, a woman, and they've basically really started to get stressed and hyperventilated about something, about a situation, and I've allowed myself to use that experience, that teachings from my dad, to kind of not rein them in, but to make them aware. Look, this isn't something to worry about. Okay, let's look at this logically. Okay, and let's plan a way forward to deal with this situation. And I think it's that element of calm, that element of logic that I certainly did take from my dad. And it is something that children will take from their fathers. It's undeniable, really. I think the idea, like I said before, of respect, respect as a man. I think boys take an awful lot from their dads about, okay, this is either how I want to act. If they're a good father, if they're someone who, like, if you had an alcoholic father or something like that, you can think to yourself, that's not what I want to become. So you almost use them as a guide of how you want to be when you get older. If you're a daughter and you look to the dad, it almost guides you as to the kind of partner that you should then look for and what you would expect. So if your dad treated your mum exceptionally well, really valued her, really sort of did his part as well into the relationship, you then use that as a guide for your own relationships. And that can't be a bad thing. That can only be a good thing. Also, whether you want to admit it or not, discipline. Okay, now, should my parents watch this, I think it's fair to say that when it came to being told off, I was probably told off more by my mum. Should I have done something wrong? Obviously, not unnecessarily so. And it was more frequent. However, if my dad told me off, if I heard from my dad, oh, that was a different story. Okay, he wasn't violent. None of my parents were violent or anything like that. I'm certainly not saying that at all. But if my dad felt I'd reached a point that something needed to be said, or you listened, he didn't even have to do anything. It was just the voice, it was the tone of voice, it was what he would say, and that was it. And that stuck with me more. But you need that. You need that kind of strong, authoritative, no, this is not what you do. Okay, this is not how you behave. And you're going to get that from a father, and it doesn't matter if it's a son or a daughter, you need that father presence in your life. Now, I do understand there are some caveats to this, okay? And the caveat is this. Sometimes relationships do not allow for both parents to be there, okay? And I understand that. I know somebody who has got twins, and their dad from the get-go was not interested whatsoever. Deadbeat dad, as you would say. The true meaning of a deadbeat dad, not just because you don't want to be in a relationship anymore and you just want to alienate the father. That's not a deadbeat dad, that's a deadbeat mother. But an actual deadbeat dad, not interested, don't even want to pay, don't want to have anything to do with them. Okay, so those twins have been forced to be raised with a single mother. Now, what I then say is, well, what that person should then be doing is then looking for not a replacement but a new father figure, and she did. And so they now have a new father figure to look to when the original deadbeat dad didn't want anything to do with them. But it's still incredibly important that there is that presence in the house, and to go against the idea of, you know, they don't need a dad, they don't need a father in their lives. let me put it this way. It has been statistically proven, and I would have loved to be able to tell you where I found this, but you can go look yourselves, honestly, if you know, Google is there for everyone. But children of single parent households, now notice I say single parent, not single mother households, so this is why I'm saying children need both parents, mothers too. The children are more likely to grow up, and I think the wording was exhibiting delinquent behaviours. So put that how you want. It could be criminal. I know there's also emotional difficulties that they can come across as well. So whether you want to say psychological, it's not helping your children. And like I said, I feel sorry for those who are in situations where the other parent does not want anything to do with them. That kind of card has been played for you, okay? And I get that. But this idea of, well, all I want to use the parent for is as a sperm donor, and then I can look after them myself because I got what I wanted. I've seen that a fair few times. Why would you purposely do something to harm your children? That's what I want to know. If you are a true parent, a true loving parent, why would you do anything to potentially harm your children? And again, there will be people that say, well, I was raised from a single parent and I turned out fine. Okay, that's fine, but why play Russian roulette? I certainly wouldn't. And don't get me wrong, there are some overlaps, okay, between the role of a mother and a father, you know, because mothers bring the empathetic side, okay? Fathers bring the more logical side. And there's nothing wrong with that. They work perfectly well together. And I understand that there'll be mothers who are logical and there'll be fathers like myself who are empathetic. Now, something I did take from my mother was she was very, very kind. So she's still alive. Christ, she's not dead. She's very kind. She, especially like, for example, if I was ill, and I was ill a lot as a kid, she was very much on it, okay? And very caring, very, very nurse-like, if you would say. Well, I've kind of taken that as well. So if my children are sick, you know, I'm there, I'm making sure they're okay. But I understand that that's not potentially, essentially my strong points. So, woman there would be able to do that more naturally than I would. And obviously, you know, there's overlaps between the two. But that doesn't mean that the two shouldn't exist at the same time. And I just worry for all these kids that are growing up now in homes where they don't have access to a father because, you know, mummy boss, mum boss, boss queen, you know, all this poisonous version of feminism. I think early feminism fine. I think this most modern version of feminism is actually harmful to girls, harmful to women. It's not protecting themselves, and it's not doing the children any good. And these children are going to grow up, and I'm sorry, a lot of them are going to grow up damaged. They really are. Absolutely damaged, whether that's mentally or their life, career prospects, shall we say, because something's missing, and it's in there, and it's in there. And so I push back. I mean, what do you think? I mean, I know there'll be some of you that will say, well, I grew up in a mother and father household, and dad was drunk and he used to abuse mum, and that had damaged me more. Look, we can go case by case, and you're always going to find situations where the norm doesn't apply. And if you were in that kind of situation, then my heart goes out to you. But you can't also then deny the majority, because the majority still exists, regardless if you're the outlier. If you are alienated, whether you're an alienated mother, alienated father, I want to know from you, what do you fear your children are missing because of the lack of your presence? Okay, now I still get to see mine, so I can't essentially say that I'm entirely alienated. I'm alienated in some ways, but I still get to see my children, so I'm certainly not the worst case scenario. But for you out there who are missing out on time with your children, what is it that they are missing out on in terms of what they are taking from you? Let me know in the comments, because I'm really interested on this and I want a good conversation with people. Sorry if I've upset some of you. You know, that is the whole point of having opinions. Everyone's got one, much like arseholes. But look, let's have a healthy debate on here. Let's talk on here. Let's talk amongst ourselves as well. Listen, I'm off to go visit someone for work. I'm on my way now, and looking forward to hearing what you're saying. So look after yourselves, folks. Be good. Take care, and I will see you again soon. Take care out there.